Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an ancient roadmap for a serious mental upgrade, but we're reframing it for our modern lives. We're going to talk about how to evolve your mind's core operating system.
You know, at any given moment, your mind is running on one of two basic systems. There's the ordinary mind. It's unstable, it's reactive, and it's constantly pulled around by desire. But then there's the bodhisattva mind. This one's built differently. It's got a stable structure, it's intentional, and it's guided by a real sense of purpose. And this whole explainer, it's about how you make that switch.
Okay, so let's get right into it. To really understand this upgrade, we've got to first see what makes these two mindsets so fundamentally different, and it all comes down to their internal architecture.
Now, a core idea in this whole framework is the concept of abodes. And right off the bat, this isn't about a physical home. Think of an abode as a stable platform inside your own consciousness, a reliable mental structure you can actually operate from.
And right there, that's the main difference. The ordinary mind is basically defined by its instability, right? It's reacting to every thought, every feeling, every little thing that happens. The bodhisattva path, though, is a journey of construction. It's an evolution through 10 distinct and increasingly stable mental platforms.
So how in the world does a transformation like this even begin? Well, the key insight here is pretty surprising. It doesn't start with some huge action or a big lightning bolt moment. Nope, it begins with a simple but really profound decision. This line right here, it contains a massive insight. What it's telling us is that the moment you genuinely form that aspiration, you are already on the path. The journey has already begun.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how aspiration is defined. In this context, it's not just some wish you make. It's a decisive psychological act. It's the moment you consciously lock in your life's direction. It's like setting the final destination on a GPS for your own mind.
So here's the crucial point. Installing this new mental operating system isn't something that happens way down the road. The upgrade literally begins the very instant you genuinely commit to this new path for your life.
Okay, so once that direction is locked in, the real work can get started. And that's the process of actually building this new, stable mental structure, piece by piece.
And this process follows this incredibly clear, logical progression. First, you set your aspiration. Then you start to purify the mind, clear out all the old junk programming. Next, you build stable, consistent habits. And through that, wisdom starts to mature, which leads you to the final stage, a stable structure from which you just don't retreat.
And this is the full roadmap. You can really see how the journey starts with that true aspiration, then moves through all these stages of preparing and practicing. But then it hits a really critical turning point right there at level 7, no longer regressing. That's the spot where the new mental structure really becomes solid.
This brings us to the ultimate goal of this whole process. See, it's not about just having occasional moments of peace or bliss. It's about building a mind that is structurally and fundamentally unshakable. This quote really gets to the core of it. The true measure of success here isn't some fleeting feeling or a mystical experience. It's this quality of just unshakable stability, a mind so firm in its new structure that it simply won't go back to the old, reactive way of being.
In this slide, it highlights a super critical distinction for anyone on a path of self-development. You have to ask yourself, are you engaged in experiential practice, just chasing temporary states and those spiritual highs? Or are you doing structural practice, where the goal isn't a feeling, but building a permanent, reliable mental system that, well, isn't prone to falling apart?
So how do we actually do this? How do we take this ancient wisdom and turn it into a practical, modern guide for building that stable structure in our day-to-day lives?
Well, this breaks it down into a fantastic guide. It all starts with choosing your system, wisdom over desire. You reinforce that choice every single day. Then you start cleansing the mind of those reactive patterns like greed and anger, while you build stable habits and train your emotional stability. And crucially, you have to get good at identifying what makes you regress, and then you cultivate wisdom and compassion at the same time. Finally, and this is so important, you integrate all of it into your actual life. Your work, your relationships, they become your training ground.
So the big takeaway here is that achieving a higher, more stable state of mind isn't some mystical thing that's just reserved for a few gifted people. It's a practical engineering project. It's a structural upgrade that you can actually plan and build step by step. And this leaves us with a final and really crucial question to ask yourself. When you look at your own inner work, Are you building fleeting experiences, occasional moments of clarity? Or are you truly focused on that structural upgrade, the one that leads to a stable, lasting awakening?